Today we are stepping away from what we normally do with DC, and we journey into an entirely new verse. This verse comes to us from a book, and the author himself reached out to me to have me power scale out his entire verse and dive into some of the unique lore and creatures that just so happen to find themselves inside the twisted world of Deliverance Through Horror. But that's just the title of the first book, as this is just one book in the many of the series. The entire verse is incredibly interesting, and before we go any further, consider to like and subscribe down low, as it helps me out a ton. And if you want to become a Theromax member and even take an extra step, join my membership program on my YouTube page. It's totally awesome, comes with all sorts of sick perks, and Consider even purchasing the book itself, as anybody can buy this bad boy on Kindle. Deliverance Through Horror was a fun and short read, which is something I've really enjoyed, because shorter books are something that definitely have always appealed to me, even back to the classic days of me reading Percy Jackson. So, something else I want to do is not spoil the story of this. I'll mainly be discussing the cosmology, all sorts of features within the verse, and some of the creatures that exist there, because I don't want to ruin this for anyone. That's something that I am really big on, is not ruining pivotal moments for story, because story is the most important thing. Now, that being said, let's get straight into the wild verse of Deliverance Through Horror. So obviously this book centers around the theme of horror, as it's inside the title, and let me tell you, it's not just there for show. Why? Well, there's a lot of really gruesome moments that occur inside this book, including people entirely being shredded apart by super powerful supernatural beings. In a video game, YouTube don't cancel. And there's not just powerful supernatural beings, there's also wildly powerful supernatural realms. So let's take a minute to discuss more of the cosmology. Let's start off small though and discuss universes. Alright, inside the universe, we have proof that there's at least a belt of a galaxy, implying one solid galaxy per universal structure, bare minimum. Although, there's a lot of things inside this verse that are incredibly reflective of the real world, so if it's at all reflective of the real world and exactly how the real world has like way more galaxies than that, then chances are it'll be pretty darn close. Speaking of things being pretty similar to our universe, look at the technology that the average person and even the military has. It's incredibly similar to ours. That's pretty awesome. The one thing that they have that isn't necessarily too crazy similar to ours is the abundance of supernatural beings that they have. Because let me tell you, there is a ton of them. And there are realms that they actually come from outside of just one universe. Now, that's right, they actually have a multiverse. And that multiverse is a core mechanic for many of the characters who are involved throughout the entire series. But how many worlds are exactly there if that's the case? Well, I can only find evidence of 554 worlds, but it seems to be implied that there are way more. That's just the specified worlds that they had cataloged at the time. It seems that all the worlds that are present within the multiverse do seem to have similar storylines to one another, with slight variations, implying that all worlds may share an origin point, or they're all simply based off of a limitless amount of actions that each person could have taken throughout the entire multiverse. That also may explain a potential multiversal archetype of characters throughout the verse, but let's not get into books past the one I'm covering here. So, beyond just that multiverse, time exists across all of these worlds. But there are some places that time does not operate in the same way that it does inside the real world, or like three-dimensional planes. A place such as like the Nether realm. Now, the Nether realm is considered a higher dimension by the author himself. This statement was a bit interesting. So I actually reached out to the author for a statement, and he claimed that the Nether realm is not affected by time at all. So we dug into that a little bit further, and he says that the Netherrealm itself is actually beyond the concept of time, and the beings there operate outside of it entirely, but only on a sense of meta-time. So, something to consider. Really busted. Netherrealm is jacked, boys. And when I say jacked, I mean jacked. This is also reinforced by the fact that in order to leave the Netherrealm, you must defy space, time, light, and everything. Everything! And the same to get there should be implied as well. So pretty much anybody who can create a portal there is defying everything that exists in the verse up into that moment in time. Space, time, light, everything. So like, damn bro, that's crack. This makes the Netherrealm one of the strongest realms inside the verse currently, and finding itself outside of the multiverse, and even outside of any way that like the normal multiverse functions. What all is inside this wildly massive realm called the Netherrealm? Well, actually a lot. The size of it is actually the size of the entire Andromeda galaxy, and it's entirely separate from the other universes that exist, furthering it being beyond the other worlds inside the multiverse. There's a bunch of different moons and even dying neutron stars that light this realm with a pale mist obscuring much of its view. But keep in mind, a lot of the things that are conjured here are actually just conjurations of the beings that exist inside the Netherrealm. They're not literally those things. Now, the Netherrealm itself is also home to a pantheon of twisted and wildly powerful creatures, and no ordinary being comes from the Netherrealm. This includes its ruler, a devil known as the Master. The Master is strong enough to create those celestial bodies I referenced earlier inside the Netherrealm, such as the blood magic spell he used to create the blood moon that exists north. The Netherrealm is seen as a wildly powerful place, pan-dimensional, or able to access anywhere in the entire multiverse, any world, or even any time from the Netherrealm. This realm also has powerful supernatural properties, including the fact that it sustains any of the supernatural beings who live here. So like, if you're here, you just get passive feeding. God, it's like, I wish that my bot lane could have that same feature, I swear to God. Yo, the creator needs to hook my bot lane up with this hex, bro. Tie them into the Netherrealm, I swear to God. But that actually reminds me, one thing I enjoyed a ton about the book was the large amount of creatures being utilized across the story, specifically those from the Netherrealm. This includes Skinwalkers, which are prevalent, especially earlier on in the run. And what is a Skinwalker? Well, Skinwalkers are something that I am aware of due to having a large history in Navajo and Apache lore just within my family. And Skinwalkers are humans taking on the form as animals, which is often associated with all sorts of demoncraft and witchcraft, and is often seen as like the antithesis of everything that the Navajo specifically believed in. Like, Skinwalkers are actually pretty gangster in verse. They roll through firearms like a 12-gauge shotgun with absolutely no care in the world, man. It was funny as hell to see. And we even get to see what it's like for somebody to become one at one point in time. And spoiler alert, it's not very much fun. It looks pretty miserable. There's also werewolves and lichens, and there's differences between the two, which is great to see somebody finally touch up upon those things. And lichens, which are far weaker than werewolves, can casually tank multiple gunshot wounds very, very, very casually. At one point in time, they reacted faster than lightning, ran over 200 miles an hour, and at one point in time, they were dropped from 40,000 feet in the air, and were fine before tearing apart military-grade vehicles afterwards like they were fodder. Okay, so even the lower tiers inside the Netherrealm would like annihilate the military of the modern day. And we see great examples of that occur inside of this specific run. Like many of the other beings, they're bound to the Netherrealm, but as a result, they have the ability to traverse the entire multiverse from the Netherrealm. We also see that there's a few orcs that show up from time to time, which happen to be very powerful, but slow in comparison to the other creatures from the Netherrealm. And orcs, I thought, had a very interesting like origin story, like their lineage. Orcs, they're like the children of the fallen angels. That's right, we got fallen angels. We just amped things up a little bit. We went from werewolves, orcs, and vampires to fallen angels. Fallen angels can create offspring with a variety of species, including all the vampires, the werewolves, or even create portals to and from the Netherrealm to wherever they want. These are the big boys, and fallen angels that sleep with mortal women are seen as Nephilim. So we also have Nephilim in verse as well, although it's not something we focus on too hard during the events of this specific story. However, there is a variety of fallen angels, so let's talk about notable ones. The Moneymaker and the Duke, who all have wild powers, including transfiguration, mind hacks. Like the Moneymaker now holds the Northern Blood Moon, and his domain is wolves and werewolves, though all of the ones we discussed earlier. Vampires are super prominent throughout the entire book. They have an entire hierarchy amongst them. Vampires are wildly powerful and can automatically blend into whatever universe they enter just by using passive hacks. By tasting your blood, they know your memories and have vampiric transformations. Vampires, much like any of the other creatures, can create portals to and from the Nether realm, can even wake people up in terror, fly at subsonic speeds casually, and the full-blooded vampires have wings. Now, full-bloods are different than half-breeds, okay? Half-breeds are considered still pretty jacked, though. Half-breeds are known as Dhampirs, and Dhampirs, they're like considered subordinates to the vampires. The vampires who have like a mental stranglehold over them. They don't let them do anything they don't want. Vampires and their offspring, such as like the Dhampirs, they are also supernatural beings that are bound to the Nether realm. Now, stronger vampires, they start to go insane. Here we have them going faster than lightning, dreaming of others, have one-way telepathic communication, can create crescent moon portals, can keep up with current military airships and fighter planes, as well as destroy them like they're dogfighting, and even cover 38.6 miles in a nanosecond while fighting someone which blew up an entire city. Okay? Now, that's pretty wild when you consider that was just a hybrid. That wasn't even a fully blood vampire. Like, we haven't even got to see the fun shit these guys could do. These are the minions duking it out, and this is what they're capable of. But on the flip side of that, I've already mentioned some of the competition for a lot of these supernatural creatures that have already come and gone that we've discussed. And of course, the militaries of these different Earths had to be weaponized in order to stop a lot of these problems. But the problem is in their technology. Their technology just isn't up to par to fighting these supernatural creatures, not yet. But every Earth has a military with generals who are willing to do anything to make things happen. Here we find a group of generals reaching out to a series of what we call ascended humans. Now, ascended humans were chosen by God to defend the multiverse from being consumed by evil. These figures are so powerful that the militaries of these different Earths and governments often hire them to end all these supernatural threats, problems, and they do so for a reason, because these ascended humans can do it. These ascended humans are powerful. Here we have them being considered beyond any of the military's capabilities in the current day, and can easily deal with tanks and other military-grade weaponry, as we heard of earlier. Some even have wildly powerful unnatural abilities, such as the ability of controlling fire and ice, like the metahuman Gemini. The war between the forces of good and evil sits in the balance inside the series, and will only continue giving us more content as time has gone on. And who knows, maybe if you guys really enjoyed this content, I'll continue diving down the verse and seeing what else I can explore in it. Because as I said, this series is far from over, okay? The writer who has created this bad boy has been pushing incredibly hard to make all of these things happen. And trust me, there's only more books down the way. I'm curious to see exactly what he builds out, because there were some topics that I didn't get to dive into enough that I wanted to. But clearly it's a series, and we're going to be getting to that later on. What I would like to see down the way is more of the fallen angels, more of the ascended humans and their agenda, as well as more of the storyline with all the main characters involved, because I liked where it was going. I like to see some more of the battles and kind of how the way he described them. I kind of enjoyed listening to how he described these characters fight with one another. So that was something I just really enjoyed. It was a really fun and entertaining read, and I hope it continues. And if you want to see this continually covered, as I said, man, make sure you're liking and subscribing, because that's the only way I know you guys are enjoying this style of content. So, with no further ado, be sure to like and subscribe, as I said, guys. And if you really enjoy my content, feel free to become a member. If you love the concepts of the book, feel free to support the original creator, because the author and the publisher both managed to work on the cover, and the rest of the artwork featured here was actually done by a man named Gabriel Brody. And feel free to sponsor them both, since they helped out with the book, and a fellow Theromax Corps member, because the author actually is a homie of the Corps. That being said, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Doing something outside of the normal is kind of rare for me, and I really hope you guys enjoy it. But with no further ado, keep looking forward to some awesome content. The DC videos are going to be dropping way more frequently, way more often here real soon. So I hope you enjoy it, and we'll catch you next time, Lanterns. Later.
corrupting and creating events that affect the entire verse was the only way she theorized to decimate her source wall curse, and so she whispered madness to her child, the Anti-Monitor, driving him towards his revenge on his brother, the Monitor. A crisis on infant Earths is what he decided to grant, but her children were